It is obvious that this contest cannot be decided by our knowledge of the Speed Force, but by our skills with a lightsaber. Tune into The Flash only on the CW. Seriously, how is this show still on? Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Today, we're taking a look at a sinister speedster so fast he can literally be in 2 places at once. August Heart, Godspeed. Starting with the packaging, and on the surface this does seem like our typical DC Multiverse window box. Well, you can see the figure nice and clearly. Name and logo here, name here, name and logo here, window up here, and UPC for those who want it. But then we get to the back. It's very similar to the Green Arrow figure that we looked at last time. Mainly that it's nothing but a static digital render. For some reason he's also reversed. Once again, they don't show any other figures at the bottom, which as I said last time isn't a problem. But this plain Jane digital render really isn't doing it for me. When DC Multiverse first came out, the boxes featured really great artwork that the figures were based on. Then they switched over to some very dynamic figure photography. This right here is the laziest option possible. It also has implications for other aspects of the figure that we'll get to later. Until then, for packaging, Godspeed is tripping out of the gate with half a point. Moving on to presentation, and Godspeed stands at just over 7 inches. From the top, I think that the mouthless look is a good creepy choice. Unlike the render on the back of the box, the figure is painted with a more brass color instead of gold, which unfortunately is not accurate to the comic. Despite the inaccurate color, I do like all these flourishes. I also like how flush the logo is, especially compared to the thickness of Barry's. McFarlane being McFarlane, they went in and added a lot of extra texture, also some sporadic grid detail. We can see that in the thighs. One thing I'm really impressed by is how flush the joints are. Again, compare the DC Multiverse Flash figure and this has come a really long way. Another great leap forward are the all-new wrist and ankle joints. Just look at how well integrated this is. Same with the ankles. Obviously, I'm going to be talking about the joints more in the next category, but I did feel like it was worth mentioning. Another thing really worth mentioning is the color. It would have been very easy to go with a more stark white, but I really appreciate this very, very light gray. I also really appreciate the matte finish. Again, comparing him to the shininess of the Flash himself. In terms of sculpted and painted detail, they did not cut any corners. Again, except for the color of the trim. And that's a shame because otherwise this figure is darn near perfect. In fact, it's so good that I've actually decided to not dock at any points for the color being wrong. For presentation, I'm giving Godspeed 1 whole point. Moving on to posability, and as usual, his head's on a dumbbell joint. Up this much, this far down, really great tilt, and all the way around. Swivel hinge shoulders raise up a little bit over 90 degrees, forward and back with the rotator cuff. I will warn you, it's a bit more narrow than usual and can get a bit gappy. Moving on down the arm though, and he has bicep swivel, double jointed elbows, and again, these really awesome new wrist balls that swivel and hinge. Careful though, the joints on mine are pretty stiff, so when I try to twist it, it pops off. Also, the paint does chip a bit. Shifting to the torso, and he has a diaphragm joint and a dumbbell waist. Unfortunately, because of how high up the diaper is cut, it does interfere with hunching over. That said, he can hunch over this far, and proving my point, he can arch back this far. Naturally, he can tilt and twist. Below the waist, and August has the typical McFarlane hips. They can kick out this far and do a perfect split. Fair amount of twist at the hip, double jointed knees, toe articulation, and the newly designed McFarlane ankle that can swivel, hinge, and pivot. Not only is the range on this figure great, but again, I'm amazed and also very encouraged by how well the joints have been integrated into the sculpt. For posability, I'm giving Godspeed 1 whole point. Before we continue, if you like this video, do me a favor and give it a like. I put a lot of love into my videos, and your likes help more people to see them. Moving on to playability, and Godspeed comes with a trading card and a figure stand. Pause here if you want to read it. And now it's time to talk about the box again. Remember when I said this boring image had greater implications for the figure? I was talking about the trading card. Specifically, the de-evolution of the trading cards. If you appreciate these cards like I do, a lot of these early ones were downright gorgeous. Just look at that. Admittedly, I was bummed out when they switched to figure photography, but I can at least admit that they did a good job on them. And yes, occasionally you would get a low-effort one like a photograph from a movie, but if this is the direction that things are going, our binders are about to get really, really boring. Beyond that, Godspeed comes with a couple of different lightning effects. To McFarlane's credit, it would have been cheaper and easier just to give him two of the same, but they're actual individual sculpts. This one kind of looks like a claw, and they can clip on like so. But playability is more than just accessories, it's also about how well your figure plays with others. First things first, and here he is with the DC Multiverse Flash. Seeing the upgrades to Godspeed's articulation and sculpt make me really hope that they revisit a comic book style Barry soon. That said, for my favorite Flash figure, here he is with DC Essentials. This version's a hair shorter, but I think you can fudge it. So let me get this straight. You're a speedster. Yeah. And your name is August. And you didn't go with August Rush. For my only other DC Multiverse Flash, and here he is with the Snyder Cut version. I personally think that Godspeed looks detailed enough to pass for live action. While we're here though, and just for fun, here he is with the Superpowers version by Kenner. Here he is with the DC Comic Superhero version by Toy Biz. Back to Kenner, and here he is with Total Justice. I believe this was supposed to be Wally West. And here he is with DC Universe Classics by Mattel. For a villain comparison, here he is with the Reverse Flash. This, of course, is just a repaint of Barry with a different head. And for the only other Flash villain in my collection, here he is with Gorilla Grodd. This one is from the Injustice 2 video game. That said, for some other DC villains, here he is with General Zod, here he is with Lex Luthor, here he is with Bizarro, and here he is with the Joker. This, of course, is the clown version from the 3 Joker storyline. For some other heroes, and here he is with Superman. This, of course, is the Action Comics 1000 version. For Batman, here he is with the Rebirth version, and here he is with Batman from the 3 Jokers. Here he is with the Endless Winter Aquaman that we recently looked at. I really love this figure. Here he is with the Green Arrow that we recently looked at. Some of you said in the comments that he's a bit too tall, and I gotta admit I do see it. Sticking with the green theme, and here he is with John Stewart Green Lantern, and here he is with Wonder Woman. This one, of course, is the one designed by Todd McFarlane himself. And on that subject, I just got the new version, so expect the review to come soon. For a Marvel Speedster, and here he is with Quicksilver. This one, of course, is from the Family Matters 3-pack with Magneto and Scarlet Witch. For another pale costume lightning enthusiast, and here he is with Gozer the Gozerian. Are you a god? Literally in my name. For a relative scale comparison, here he is with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and of course, here he is with Stealth Iron Man. If you're a Flash fan, this figure is a fantastic addition to your collection. As I said during presentation, you could definitely fudge him into both your comic book and live action displays. For playability, I'm giving Godspeed 1 whole point. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price. I found Godspeed at Books A Million for $22.99, but I do imagine you could find him elsewhere for only $20. Obviously, you should get him for the best price you can, but definitely get him. Just like August himself, this Godspeed figure probably won't stick around. For price, I'm giving Godspeed 1 whole point, for a grand total of 4.5 out of 5. For more Flash-related videos, check out this one on the Snyder Cut or this one on the Reverse Flash. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.